Today I'll be ranking every single zombies map ever, from Nocturne Toten and World at War all the way to Forsaken and Black Ops Cold War. This list will be Treyarch only, so World at War and all the Black Ops games will be included, but games like Infinite Warfare Zombies will not be included. It'll start with the worst map and work its way up to the best map. How I'll be ranking these is basically, is it fun? Do I want to play it? How does it look visually? Does it have replayability? Everything will be factored in and included into these rankings. I will also be showing you my tier list at the end of the video. With all that being said, coming in as the worst map in all of zombies at number 31, we have Transit, a map that really suffers from a lot of problems like the fog, denizens, pack-a-punch, the bus, the jet gun, and simply being on the wrong engine. The fog on the map may be required to keep the player inside the main areas, but it makes it look visually not appealing at all black and dark gray. Aside from Avogadro, the boss on the map, you also have the denizens, which jump on your screen and can be really hard to get off on later rounds and just make the gameplay not fun. Pack-a-punching on this map can also be a huge journey, having to get the power on, then find the 3 parts, and use the turbine to open up all the doors to find you probably don't have enough points. The jet gun is also a major problem, being one of the worst wonder weapons on all zombies. You have to go around and build it, which takes forever, and though it can kill for infinite rounds, it will literally break in your hands if you use it too often. Lastly, what I think haunted Transit as a map from the start was being on the Black Ops 2 engine. That's an engine that simply couldn't hold a map the size of Transit, and I think if it were to come out today in Cold War, it would probably be considered an average map. Enough said about Transit. Coming in at number 30, we have Shinonuma, the third zombies map featured on World at War, and in a dark green barf-colored swamp. Unfortunately for Shinonuma, its location being in the swamp means there's going to be a lot of mud, and that mud makes it really hard to train and stay alive, slowing down the player heavily. The map layout is actually fairly simple and solid, having 4 unique locations that differ from one another slightly, having each a random perk machine per game and a central area where you spawn connect to each of the 4, making movement easy. The high rounding on this map is absolutely insane. The highest round ever achieved was 10,751 by Krups, and this is due to the insta-kill glitch where all you have to shoot is 1 bullet and you'll kill zombies on very high rounds. You also have the Wonder WAF, which kills 12 zombies a bullet, and being on World at War, there's only 24 zombies that spawn per round, so you only need to fire the thing twice. You also have dog rounds to replenish your Wonder WAF ammo, and of course the Flogger, which is unique to Shinonuma. It kills for a very long time and does infinite damage. Coming in at number 29, we have Die Rise, a map that I really respect for its innovative changes, but ones that weren't integrated well. All other zombies maps to this point and really beyond are really horizontal, but this map is just straight up and down with barely any horizontal movement needed. The elevator system is the main transportation method on the map, and similar to Transit's bus system, you have 0 control over when it moves. So sometimes you'll be pack-a-punching a weapon and it'll move, causing you to completely lose it. And each perk changes per game, so you'll just be looking at the elevator to see which has what and when you can actually move to the next part of the map. The wonder weapon of the map, the Sliquifier, is actually one of the best there is, shooting a purple goo that can take out an entire horde of zombies, and pre-patch could actually take out an entire round, sticking around and continuously killing. You do have to use it strategically though, because if used wrong, you can fling yourself off the map or right into a horde of zombies. Die Rise's perks are also horrible. You have Who's Who, which was introduced and is just literally a worse quick revive. It's almost useless. And what could have been the best perk, PhD Flopper, was actually trolled. It's on the map, but it's in a spot where you actually can't get to it. You also have Jumping Jacks, which take place of the Hellhound rounds and are unique to this map and actually can be very hard to take out if you don't have a good weapon. And of course, the fact that this is with the Victus crew. Hearing Marlton Johnson for an hour is enough for me to not want to play this map. Coming in at number 28, we have the first zombies map to ever come out, Nocturne Toten. Since coming out in World at War, we've seen it on Black Ops 1, 2, 3, and Cold War. On Black Ops 3 with Gobblegums, you're able to get pack-a-punched weapons, but you also have perk machines in the Wonder Fizz, but on all other versions you have nothing. It's extremely bare bones and is just a bare survival map in a bunker setting. Essentially, all you have is 2 rooms with an upstairs and downstairs, 3 doors that you can open, and 1 box location. But at this time, the standards weren't set because all this was essentially a side project straight out of the campaign. Coming in at number 27, we have Verrucht, the second map coming right after Nocturne Toten. It's also very similar to it, having not much going on. It's definitely its own and unique map though. It added a lot from Nocturne Toten, such as perks. As we know them today, it added the 4 main ones, Speed Cola, Double Tap, Juggernog, and Quick Revive, and it also added traps allowing you to kill zombies on higher rounds. Since it was on World at War and there was no Pack-a-Punch on this map, killing zombies on higher rounds was really difficult. The only ways you could do it was really using traps and the Wonder Waff. I think this could be one of the hardest maps there is because all the hallways are extremely narrow and it's really hard to weave your way around the zombies. Playing is also pretty intense, and not just because it's hard. If you have your volume on and you're listening, you hear these shrieking and screaming sounds that are actually pretty disturbing and doors slamming. This atmosphere and simply being in an asylum certainly makes Verrucht the scariest map in all of zombies. Coming in at our next spot and the first Black Ops 4 map to come is Blood of the Dead, the reimagined version of Mob of the Dead, and if we're putting it into simple terms, the much worse version of Mob of the Dead. Let's talk about its Easter egg to start. It's considered pretty much unanimously to be one of the worst, as you do a series of steps that make 0 sense and are extremely tedious. Not only is it terrible because it's tedious and the steps don't make sense, but it's extremely long. You look up the guides on YouTube and some of them are 38 minutes long. If you can achieve finishing this Easter egg in under an hour and a half, you are pretty good at the game. Once you're done with all the steps and you get to the boss fight arena, it's pretty underwhelming and unoriginal. All you do is fight a bunch of wardens, zombies, and hellhounds. And guess what? You also need shield blasts in order to actually complete the boss fight. I'll give credit where credit is due though. The ending cutscene was actually pretty incredible, seeing Richtofen's blood being extracted and essentially him dying. It also felt very rewarding. I really like how they also added the Blundergat. I was really hoping they'd bring that back from Mob of the Dead, and they also added its own version, the Magmagat, which is essentially Mob of the Dead's Vitriolic Withering, but much better than the Vitriolic Withering on Blood of the Dead, if that makes sense. The map layout is atrocious, but one of the things Mob of the Dead had going for it was that you actually spawned in the prison, but in Blood of the Dead, you spawn in, aside from the prison, in Richtofen's laboratory, and then you have to make your way through the catwalk and face a ton of zombies and then run into the prison. They don't utilize all the different areas and rooms on the map either. On Mob of the Dead, they did a really good job of that, but on Blood, you have several different parts of the map that you're hardly ever in and serve almost 0 purpose. The biggest crime for me that Blood of the Dead committed was getting rid of the plane parts and actually having to build the plane to get off Alcatraz Island and away from the prison and crashing it into the Golden Gate Bridge to then be able to pack-a-punch your weapon. Instead, they just made it a moving pack-a-punch location, which does not compare. And they got rid of Afterlife. One of the coolest features of Mob of the Dead, Afterlife, they got rid of. Why? Overall, a map with all the potential in the world, but was wasted. Sliding into our next spot at number 25, we have Dead of the Night, the first DLC in Black Ops 4, and a map's atmosphere that is extremely unique and just really cool. This map's setting is in Alistair's haunted mansion, and you got cemeteries around, you got vampires, you got werewolves. It's a really cool setting. The wonder weapon on the map, Alistair's Folly, is actually pretty solid and pretty underrated if you ask me. It can kill zombies for very high rounds. That's why the high rounding on this map is considered pretty fun and easy. The Easter egg, however, is not very good. It makes you run around the map looking for locations, for example, scratch marks, tiny little scratch marks in the rims. You have to go around looking all around, and it's very tedious and takes forever. It's Easter eggs like Dead of the Night that I have no idea how they are even discovered. Boss fight's also pretty lackluster. All you do is fight a giant werewolf, which is already the boss on the map, so you're pretty much just doing the same thing. And you're also lining up stones to get to the right spot, so it doesn't feel very rewarding to actually complete either. Another thing is the characters on this map were brand new and we never saw them again. And for me personally, I'm not big into the storyline, and I don't think the casual zombies players are either. So it was almost like, why should we care about these characters? It really didn't add anything and the quotes weren't very significant. You also have silver bullets on this map, which are brand new and help you take out the werewolf and allow you to buy ammo in your weapon. So I thought those were pretty cool. I really understand and could see how people would really love this map because it's such a unique atmosphere and environment. But for me personally, I just didn't enjoy it that much. Coming in at number 24, we have Voyage of Despair. What I think is definitely undoubtedly a top 3 location to actually have a map on the literal Titanic. This is a very large map. Having to run from the back of the boat to the front of the boat takes a really long time, and it also essentially has 3 stories, so there's a lot to do. You have the fast travel systems, and you have the Pack-a-Punch with all of its different locations, which very much confuses me. I never know where Pack-a-Punch is, and I still have no clue where any of the fast travels lead. Because there's so many different areas and each one has something going on in it and everything is used, it makes the map extremely complicated at first. The Kraken, the wonder weapon on the map, is pretty awesome and fitting for the Titanic setting, but why use it when you can use the Helion salvo? The Easter egg requires a lot of teamwork and is also extremely complicated like the map. Some of the steps don't really make sense, like the planet one where you have to get the order, shoot them out of the sky, and then run to the part of the map that corresponds to it, which takes a while because there's so many different planets. The boss fight is awesome where you fight a giant eye, and there's essentially 5 stages to it, each one getting harder than the next. And it has an instant down attack, so if you're not doing enough damage to it, it can end your entire game, which really puts you on edge knowing that your game could end in an instant if you're not doing well enough. Overall, this map's considered to be a flop because people came into it having extremely high expectations, but it didn't do anything really well aside from the boss fight, and a lot of the stuff is extremely tedious, so that really hurt the map and made it not as enjoyable and as people expected it to be. Coming in at our next spot, number 23, we have Firebase Z, the first DLC in Cold War. It brought some new stuff like the ray gun rifle, the Ray K, which we were really looking forward to, and mimics, but also brought back some old really cool stuff like Tombstone Soda, the perk, and Manglers from Garad Crovey, but also the jump pad transportation method that we also had on Horizon Rack. Aside from adding to the storyline, this map didn't really add anything else unique or new. It did, however, add assault waves, which basically took the place of Hellhound rounds, where you have to defend an ether reactor against Orda and a bunch of zombies. The Easter egg is pretty lackluster and features some tedious steps like having to capture mimics in an essence trap. The boss fight also doesn't have much going for it. All you do is fight Orda, which you already did in the assault waves, and is also way too easy. On day 1, you could throw a couple tomahawks at it and you'd finish it in a couple seconds. Without a doubt the worst map in Cold War, but in general, not a bad map. Coming in at number 22, we have Alpha Omega, and for this list, I'm gonna actually join Nuketown and Alpha Omega together as a single spot, just because I don't think they're different enough to get individual spots, but if I were to, I'd put Nuketown as a much worse map. Alpha Omega is the reimagined version of Nuketown, which added basically a huge bunker, a couple extra areas and houses, and also an Easter egg. So when I talk about these two maps joined together, I'll generally be talking about Alpha Omega more, just because it is Nuketown, but with a lot more added to it. One thing they added was 4 variants, each one different, of the Raygun Mark II, which I don't think they're actually as good as the base Raygun Mark II, but it was pretty unexpected and cool. They also added an Easter egg, which is pretty easy and basically consisted of doing a lot of stuff and then going back to Rushmore, but it also had a boss fight at the end where we fought Avogadro, which came back from transit, which was pretty cool. Everything I've said about the map so far is good, but really this map was pretty boring and didn't add anything new, but really just brought back old stuff. I personally almost forgot about these 2 maps when making this list. Also, being on Black Ops 4 in the 3rd DLC kind of made this map fall under the radar. At our next spot, number 21, we have the map 5. Similar to Nuketown and Alpha Omega, I'm going to join Classified in 5 because I also think they're too similar to have their own individual ranking, as Classified is just the reimagined version of 5. When I talk about these 2 maps together, I'm going to be talking more primarily about 5 because I think that's the better map. It kind of pains me to put 5 so low at number 21, but honestly it's way too hard of a map to be placed any higher. I think this map failed to get popularity just because of how hard it was. I'd say it's definitely the hardest just because the entire map is so close quartered, and the teleportation system, you have no idea where you're going to be spit out. The Winter's Howl, the wonder weapon, requires you to use an entire mag to actually take out a couple zombies, making this an insanely hard high round. The setting of this map is incredible, being in the literal US Pentagon, where you have the crew of JFK, Robert McNamara, Richard Nixon, and Fidel Castro, which I think personally is the coolest crew. The Pentagon Thief is also on this map, which is only on 5 and not classified. We all wanted it to come back, but it didn't anyway. It's the boss on the map, and he'll try and run and steal your gun. And when you kill him, he'll drop you a fire sale and a max ammo. Hypothetically, I think if you were to switch Kino's Thundergun and 5's Winter's Howl, I think 5 would actually be considered a better map and a lot more popular amongst the community. But because they're on their own respective maps, Kino's loved and cherished, while 5 doesn't get nearly the amount of attention. Coming in at number 20, we have Tag der Toten, which will be coming in separately than Call of the Dead. I feel these maps are different enough to each get their own spots. Tag, being the reimagined version of Call of the Dead, made it so they made a lot of changes, and a lot of them I don't think were positive ones, like taking George Romero off the map. They also made some changes with the Wonder Weapon, where they got rid of the Scavenger in VR11 and replaced them with the Sniper Wunderwaffe and the Tundra Gun, which were both also terrible, but at least the Scavenger was fun to use. So the Wonder Weapons actually got worse on Tag. It also served as the final Ether map, which inevitably meant that we had huge expectations going into it, and the Easter egg was extremely lackluster, and there wasn't actually even a boss fight. So the final Ether map, we all expected some huge final battle or war, and we didn't even get a single boss fight. I also didn't like the fact that they used the Victus crew on this map. I don't know why the final Ether map they would use the worst crew there is. Being a remake, Call of the Dead, you know this map isn't bad and it's still solid, but really it's just a worse version of Call of the Dead with a lot of changes that didn't need to be made, or that just could have been executed much better. Sliding in our next spot, number 19, we have Shangri-La. I know earlier I said 5 was the hardest map in all of Zombies, but the only map that I think that could compete for that spot would actually be Shangri-La, but because it has the Baby Maker, this makes this map actually doable. The Baby Maker is just how it sounds. It's the Wonder Weapon on the map, and you shoot the zombies and it turns them into a very much smaller size, where you can just run right into them and they just fly backwards and die. And it also takes a lot more hits to down you with these tiny zombies. There's no really good way to stay alive on this map. It's pretty hard and a challenge to get past round 20. You have very narrow walkways throughout the map, and you also have the Shrieker and Napalm zombies, which can be used to your advantage, but are also hard to kill. You also have traps on the map, but not the type of traps that kill zombies, but ones that make it harder for you to run through the map. So if you're playing co-op, and a player runs through the trap, the poles will continuously come up, making it really hard for you trying to run behind your teammate to actually get through that part of the map. The Easter egg also requires you to have 4 players in your game. It can't be completed with 1 person or 3. It has to be 4, and you need to be communicating and working together at all times. And though it was one of the first Easter eggs, it was also a very solid one. One of the best features of this map is also how it looks visually. It looks incredible. You're on an island. It's very green and lush, and it just looks amazing. With all that being said, moving on, number 18, we have Revelations, a map that also looks visually incredible, but with different colors. It's very red and green, very bright and in your face. But this map is lacking with all its new map locations. The only 2 new parts are actually at spawn in the Pack-a-Punch area inside the Apothecon. This map was kind of similar to Tag der Toten in the sense that we all had super high expectations. Being the final Black Ops 3 map, we all thought we'd get an awesome Easter egg and a great boss fight. But in reality, the Easter egg took way too long to figure out because it had a lot to do with trying to find rocks. And the boss fight was actually not very fun and kind of boring. The Easter egg basically has you doing a bunch of tedious stuff that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the final boss fight was almost like the same thing as Shadows of Evil. It kind of felt way too repetitious. One thing I really enjoy and like about this map, which I'm not sure is exactly a good thing, but the high rounds are extremely easy, and I'd say in general this is probably the easiest map in all of Zombies. You have the Apothecon Servant and the Thunder Gun, which you can both actually upgrade this time, unlike in Shadows of Evil. You also have the Ragnaroks and Lil Arnie's, so you have no shortages of things that you need to kill zombies or bosses with. Coming in at number 17, we have the 3rd map in Cold War and the 2nd DLC, Mauer der Toten. I think this map made a lot of cool additions, like the Rapplers, which is a new movement system where it's basically a zip line, and it cools down, but it's also really fast. It also added the wonder weapon, the Cerberus, which I think is the best in all of Cold War. I really like how the Cerberus has 4 different variants that the zombies drop, and you can use it, and once it runs out of ammo, you go back to the base pistol, which is actually the best version. It's basically kind of like a ray gun, I'd describe it as, but it shoots a lot faster. I really like the location of this map being in Berlin and also kind of like a downtown city area, which is a new fun environment to actually play in. I think it's pretty cool. And I also like how they added the Disciple zombies, also Tempests, and they also brought back the Panzer from Dreisendrach and Origins, which I thought was pretty cool. You also have Klaus, which is kind of like the civil protector, and Leroy, which I'll get to later in the video. But it's basically like a robotic teammate, which I thought was pretty awesome, and his lines are pretty entertaining. The Easter egg is pretty easy and simple, similarly to all the other Cold War maps, but it was also not bad at all. It was fun. Easy steps, just kind of just running through the map. And once you get to the boss fight, it's also very intense and awesome. You get to fight Valentina, and there's basically 5 waves or steps that you have to go through. And you get a lot of zombies, lots of boss zombies. It's actually a really hard boss fight. Overall, I'd say this map is average to above average. It does everything pretty well, but nothing amazing. Number 16, we got Kino der Toten, the famous and most played map probably of all time. And that is because it appeals to the casual community. It's in an abandoned, haunted German theater. You have the thunder gun, you have traps, you have the stage where you can train, you have Nova crawlers, you have power, you have perks, you have teleporters, you have Pack-a-Punch. I think this map is regarded as one of the best ever just because it was on a very successful game like Black Ops 1 and actually was the base map, so that meant you didn't have to pay for the DLC to play it. So it was open to play by anyone, and it being very easy to play, like you have the stage to train and you have the thunder gun, making it really easy and fun. It's like the perfect map to just hop in and play with friends on, or try and get to high rounds, whatever you want. But I do think it is overrated. I think people definitely hold nostalgic memories with this map, and it's not objectively even close to the best. I think one thing that hurts it is not having an Easter egg. I know that the first Easter egg that ever came out was a map that was after Kino, so Easter eggs weren't a thing by the time Kino came out. I think that does hurt it though, just because there's really not much to do. It's just all you do is kill zombies and just try and stay alive. I think if there are other objectives or other things to do, it makes the map a lot more fun. At number 15, we have Moon, which is actually a pretty weird map to rank because I could see the argument for it being definitely top 10, and I could also see the argument for it being a bottom 10 map. It's got a lot that's amazing with it, and a lot that's just terrible and makes me never want to play this map again. We'll start with the good things about this map, like adding Meal Kick, which is a perk we still have today. It was pretty cool to be able to have 3 guns. You have the Hacker device, which is something that's completely new. It allows you to hack the box and be able to get an extra spin, or hack it again to be able to pick up that gun in the box as a weapon drop. You can hack the excavators to make them go away. You can go all the way to Area 51, where you get to hack Pack-a-Punch, where you can have a nice safe place to Pack-a-Punch without having to worry about zombies killing you. And you have the amazing wonder weapon, the Wave Gun, which basically you can dual wield as the Zap guns, which aren't very good, and you can put them together as a big pistol, the Wave Gun, which basically makes it sound like a ding noise when you kill them. It's a very good gun and fun to use. Another thing you can do using the Hacker device is actually hack drops. So you can throw a Gersh device to get drops because the Wave Gun can't actually produce drops. And you can use the Hacker device to turn them all into max ammos. So high rounding on this map can actually be pretty fun. I also really like the spawn area because you spawn in on Area 51 and then you have Pack-a-Punch there and Speed or Jug depending on when you're there. And then you have to teleport to the moon, and then when you get all set up on the moon and you want to Pack-a-Punch, you have to go back to Area 51. So I think that's pretty innovative and something new that they brought. One very big problem this map has though is movement. You have to go from Area 51 to spawn on the moon, and then from there to the biodome, your only path is running, and that takes forever because the map is so big. And you only have one way of actually going back to Area 51 as well. Hopping onto the teleporter, and that takes forever to get to. Running from one end of this map to the next takes way too long. You also have the astronaut on the map, which I don't think really adds anything, but just makes it harder and makes you super paranoid. Because you'll open up a door, he'll be there waiting for you, and then you know what happens. He'll spawn you in a random part of the map and he'll take your perks. The Easter egg is a very rewarding feeling, but to actually get to that point takes forever and it's way too RNG related. You need to get the Gersh device out of the box, you need the QEDs, and you need the wave gun. It feels like you're hitting the box most of the time during this. You're also waiting for Excavator 6 to go, and the excavators can be very annoying and take forever, but you get to also blow up the earth, which is amazing in the end. Lots of good things and lots of bad things with this map. Next at 14, we have Forsaken, the final map in all of Cold War, and they brought a couple of cool new things like the Abomination, which is basically just a reskin Margwa, but it was still pretty cool. You have the Chrysalax, which is a melee wonder weapon, I think the first we've ever had, and it can easily get you to high rounds just by swinging it until about like 40-ish. And you can also turn the build into an SMG. The Easter egg was way too easy, similar to all the other Cold War ones, but the boss fight kind of carries it. It's pretty hard and actually fun. And in the final cutscene, you get to see Richtofen again. They also utilized the Rappler system from Mauer Totenwell, getting around the map, and also the Dark Ether portals, which was on D Machina and Firebase Z. The starting room is also kind of similar to Moon's, but this time whether you kill zombies or not, the rounds will actually progress. So you can be on round 6 within like a minute. Side Easter eggs were done really well on this map. Like my favorite ones, the 3 arcade games, where one of them you can go and play a Nocturne Toten. The next one you can play a mini game of being on Dreisendrach. And then the last one you can be in RCXD, where you go around this mini course and then you end up blowing it up. Definitely a good and memorable map to end off Cold War. Coming in at number 13, we have D Machina, the launch map on Cold War. This map had the entire zombies community and even people that didn't even play zombies excited. People were going for round 100s, even round 200 speedruns. People were doing the Easter eggs. People were doing the side coffin Easter egg. Gamers that weren't even known for zombies were hyped for this map and played it a lot, actually streaming and getting lots of views. D Machina introduced us new perks that were upgradable to level 3 this time, and each upgrade gave it a new ability, making it better. You also had all the different types of field upgrades. You could also spawn in with a weapon, and throughout the game, rank it up, level it up, pack-a-punch it. You could pack-a-punch 3 different times. You could still get ammo mods. I mean, it wasn't really D Machine that put all these new things into the game, but more Cold War as a whole. The Easter egg was really easy, but I think Treyarch did a good job with that because they really knew their audience. A lot of the zombies players were new, or a lot of them hadn't played in a while, so by making it easy and step by step, it appealed to just about everyone. They introduced to us a new wonder weapon and 2 new bosses. You have the Plague Hounds, which are basically just Hellhounds, but its own twist to it. You got the Megatons, which once destroyed, they split into halves. So then you get 2 more of them, but a different mini version, which is pretty cool. And you have the Die Shockwave, which the base is the best version, but you also have 4 upgradable styles. Being the launch map and how successful it was, it really had everyone very excited for the future of Cold War Zombies. Next at 12, we have Ascension, the Black Ops 1 DLC map, in a Soviet Union rocket launch setting. Like Kino, it has the Thunder Gun, but also has several training areas that I think are a lot better than the theater. The map visually looks disgusting until you turn on the power, but once the power's on, everything lights up and then the map looks pretty good. It also has Zombies' first Easter egg ever, and obviously it was going to be really easy, but you do get a reward with I believe a 90-second death machine. You also have Space Monkeys, which are the special boss rounds on this map, and they'll try and take your perks unless you kill them. If you kill them, you get a max ammo, but if you kill them without them stealing a perk of yours, then they also drop you a perk. So if you can contain them, they can be very helpful to you. You also have a couple traps, like in Spawn Room. You can use that to kill the zombies on high rounds. You can use the fire trap. If you kill a monkey, you get an achievement. And you have several good training spots, so if you're playing solo, you have different options, but if you're playing with even 3 people, it's very easy to survive. Next at 11, we have Darius or the Giant. Being only the 4th map, it was really revolutionary for having huge changes, like introducing the Pack-a-Punch. And with the Pack-a-Punch, they introduced teleporters with it, to where you'd have to go to each teleporter, set it, and then run back to the main frame, and then finally unlock Pack-a-Punch. Adding Pack-a-Punch alone is a pretty huge thing to do because it's on every Zombies map ever since then, except for, I believe, Farm and Bus Depot. It also brought back some traps from Verrucht and the Wonder WAF. The Giants version is the exact same, but with just updated colors, better graphics, and you have the Gobblegum machine. So I think the Giant might be just as good, maybe better, just because, you know, it's more updated. But the World at War version also had a lot of glitches to where one of them, you'd lose your jug if you accidentally hit yourself with the Wonder WAF. It also got one of my favorite strategies to just try and level up in Black Ops 3 or just have a good time with friends, you know, whatever. Camping on the catwalk, having all your teammates or just you, whatever you want to do, and you just shoot in a straight line. Just barely getting into the top 10, we have Ancient Evil. Aesthetics wise, I think this map is amazing. The colors are popping out, it's bright. In the Pack-a-Punch area, it looks even better. You know, you're in this ancient Greek mythological area with all these gods. I mean, I'd say visually it's the best map. The Easter egg is fairly solid. Once you build all the gauntlets, then you get to do some fun steps. The boss fight is awesome. You fight Pegasus, and then once you defeat Pegasus, you go on and fight another boss, Perseus. It feels very rewarding to end it all, and then you get the Medusa cutscene, which is pretty cool. Of course, you have the gauntlets, similar to Origins with the staffs and Horizon Direct with the bows. Ancient Evil's got the gauntlets. You got 4 versions. They're all amazing. They got a little bit problem with ammo, but they're still really good. They're still fun to use, and they're really tied into the story. They look really awesome. They're perfect for what the map is actually going for. Ancient Evil really doesn't get enough credit for being as good a map as I think it should be. If Treyarch, for whatever reason, really waits and holds on to Zombie Chronicles 2 for a couple more years, I'd really like to see some Ancient Evil, maybe some other BO4 maps in it. Coming in at number 9, in the most underrated Zombies map of all time, in my opinion, Zetsubo no Shima. Without a doubt, I think could have been a top 5 map if it just made very small changes, like making the setup take less time. The setup takes way too long, in my opinion, and the Thrashers. If they made Thrashers spawn way less, or they just made Thrashers have a drop each time you killed one, either or would have made this map a lot better. The replayability on Zetsubo is certainly one of the best. You have so many different things you can do, almost unlimited. It has 2 separate boss fights. The first one, where you have to get a Masamune part, you go into this huge cave and you fight this gigantic spider. Once you kill it, you get its fang, which is a part you'll use for the Wonder Weapon upgrade. And then you get a free Widow's Wine. But then the final Easter egg boss fight, you end up fighting Takiao. The Easter egg is really just grabbing 3 cogs, putting it into an elevator, which lowers you into the boss fight. But in order to get to that point, all you have to do is really just play the map, do the things you should do. The Easter egg is really just setting up. Once you're done with the Easter egg, you go back right where the elevator is, and down that hallway you have one of the best camping spots ever. The map's Wonder Weapon is the KT-4, which is similar to the Liquefier, but you can actually upgrade it, and this time to the Masamune, it turns from a green to a light blue, kills a lot more zombies, it's a lot better. You also have the Skull of Nansapwe, which is the specialist on the map. It's very effective, you need it for the Easter egg. It can kill zombies forever, it recharges. It also opens up parts of the map that you wouldn't even have known existed, like one of them is a small little closet and inside there's a max ammo. The map also adds a lot of unique qualities like spider rounds, but also the planting system. You have bucket, you have 4 different types of waters, rainbow, green, blue, purple, and then you have several different things you can grow. You can grow a bullet for the Easter egg, you can grow plants, you can grow a fruit. I mean, the planting system adds replayability. The argument can certainly be made for it being tedious though, because a lot of it you have to go back and plant for 3 rounds in a row, and it can get hard to remember where you actually planted it, especially if you have several plants which are all in different locations. It's also got good side Easter eggs. One of them, spider bait, you can actually become a spider, and then you can go around shooting zombies with webs. You can also get a friendly Thrasher to spawn by hitting a spore with the Masamune. Now the negative things about the map, which keep it from being higher up on the list. Again, the Thrashers and the setup. The setup takes forever, probably over half an hour every game, because you have to constantly turn on power until you officially do it down in the bunker. And all the doors can be extremely expensive. It probably takes over 45-30 minutes to actually set up and get your game ready to go. And of course the thrashers, which can get very bulky and hard to kill. Coming in at number 8, we have Call of the Dead. Set to be in a shipwrecked Siberian winter kind of location, I believe. A lot of maps would benefit from having a snowy atmosphere like Call of the Dead, I feel like. Too many maps are kind of like Transit, where it's a grayish, blackish, kind of a disgusting color tone, but I like Call of the Dead's a lot. The map introduced a lighthouse, where the light would be where the Pack-a-Punch is, so there was a moving Pack-a-Punch. They also introduced to us zip lines, which weren't actually used on many maps after, but have since been brought back in the style of rappelling in Cold War. They introduced to us the Scavenger and VR-11 wonder weapons. The VR-11 is practically useless unless you're doing the Easter egg, then you need it. When you shoot zombies, it turns them into CIA agents. The Scavenger is a sniper wonder weapon, which you pretty much need PhD flopper with. But you shoot it on the ground and it blows zombies up, makes a pretty cool sound, but it poops out around mid-30s. Also introduced to us the solo and co-op Easter egg, each being different from one another in separate achievements, but only being a little extra added steps on the co-op version. You also have George Romero, which is in the game the second you spawn in on round 1, and he stays with you the entire game. He's pretty needed because I feel like the map would be a lot easier in early to mid rounds if you didn't have him. He's constantly walking around. If you shoot him, he gets super angry. He'll start chasing at you, and you have to go to water to cool him off. If you kill him, he'll go away for a couple rounds, and he can even drop you a death machine or a wonder waff. Overall, good map layout, awesome atmosphere, decent boss in George Romero. Terrible wonder weapons, but the Scavenger is really fun to use. Overall, a very good map. Coming in at number 7, we have the map 9, the best Black Ops 4 map. Right away, you run out from spawn, you get into the Roman Coliseum, you get the screaming, the cheering. It really feels like you're in there fighting for your life. The map's location and atmosphere is one of the best we've ever seen. The map layout is basically 4 main temples, each one corresponding to a god with Ra, Danu, Zeus, and Odin. And then underneath you have a huge bunker area like where Pack-a-Punch is and a bunch of stuff you need to do for the Easter egg. The Easter egg is really good on this. It requires a lot of teamwork, or unless you're doing solo. You have a lot of things you have to do, several different steps. Each one is kind of complicated. It's pretty hard. It takes a while to do for sure. And the boss fight is incredible. You fight 2 giant elephants, and you're also in a different separate coliseum. It's even bigger. You have a ton of mini boss zombies that spawn. It feels really rewarding to actually complete. You have a scorpion wonder weapon. It's called the Death of Orion, which is basically like a version of the Wonder Waff, but it's much more unique. I have really nothing negative to say this map, aside from maybe there's so many different mini boss zombies that can be kind of hard to take out sometimes. And one step of the Easter egg where you have to get poop by having a really bad crowd affinity, and you have to wait a couple rounds to actually develop it, which can be kind of annoying. Other than that, there's pretty much nothing wrong about the map. It's awesome. I wish it weren't on Black Ops 4, but it is what it is. Awesome idea for a zombies map. Moving on to number 6, we have Gorod Krovi. I really like where this map's location is in Stalingrad, Russia. It's kind of like Nikolai's map. It's a personal map, so everything is kind of surrounded around him. The dragons are super cool. You also actually get to ride a dragon. You have to fly out to Pack-a-Punch, and you can also use it in the form of the specialist weapon on the map, the Gauntlet of Siegfried, where you can use the dragon. It shoots green fire to kill zombies. Or you can release the dragon and use the fist. The shield on the map is upgradable, so once you upgrade it and you shoot it, it does infinite damage and breaks a lot slower, which can be really helpful. They also brought back the PPSH, which was awesome to see in the box again, and the Ray Gun Mark III, which we hadn't seen before, which is introduced and only on this map. Dual wielded, the right one shoots like a normal Ray Gun Mark I, and the left one shoots like this yellow orb. Put them together and you create a black hole. What carries this map in the rankings is its Easter egg and boss fight. Without a doubt, I think it's the best boss fight in all of Zombies. Second, I'd say probably Voyage of Despair's Eye boss fight. But in this one, you get 2, and they're both pretty solid. The Easter egg is also not tedious at all, but it's extremely hard, which I like. It takes a long time. You basically have several steps, and you have to collect a bunch of trophies. And each one of the trophies has a certain challenge with it, like the famous bomb step, where it shows you all the different bombs, and you have to go and turn them off in order, and if you get the order wrong, all of them will explode and down all your teammates. It's the perfect challenge where it's very hard to complete, but it's also not tedious, and it's got the replayability factor. Boss fight, however, is definitely the best. You fight a dragon, which each has 3 different locations where you have to shoot its neck, and then you have to shoot its chest. And it puts fire all over the map, which is really fun. It's kind of hectic, it's intense. And then once you destroy that, it blows up and all of its pieces and body parts go all over the place. And then you have to fight Nikolai, the Ultimus version, in a mech suit, which is insane. And then he spawns Raps. It's just the best boss fight. It's challenging, it's really hard, it's intense, and it feels very rewarding to complete. Anyway, moving on and starting the top 5, we have Buried. Buried innovated a ton with Leroy, which is the giant, which is basically a teammate. You give him candy, he'll make the box not go anywhere else, so you can't get a teddy bear. He'll carry zombies and hold them for you, so you don't have to train one at the end of the round. He'll kill zombies, you give him booze, he'll run into structures, opening up different parts of the map. He's like a way more developed and absolutely necessary Klaus or Civil Protector. The atmosphere and location of this map is really awesome. You're in this old western town, but not only that, it's underground. So it's almost like it's straight out of a movie, being in an underground old western town theme. You also got different like fire sale music. It's just everything on this map is just unique. You also have the Paralyzer and Raygun Mark II, which were both introduced on this map. The Raygun Mark II, which we all know came back several times, really good gun. And the Paralyzer, which is unique to this map, you can fly with. You can also shoot zombies with it, slow them down, it'll kill them. And it's perfect for the bank strategy, which you can just sit up there constantly shoot in a straight line and there's nothing the zombies can do about it. You also have the Juggernog strategy, where you can use all your buildables, the Paralyzer, and all your firepower to just shoot straight down a hallway. You also have the Easter egg, which basically has 2 different sides, and another pretty popular step, the Sharpshooter, where you need 4 players and each one has to hit every single target. And you have the process of getting to Pack-a-Punch, where you have to go through the witch's mansion. You have to go through very cautiously, because each time she touches you, she'll steal 2,000 points. And if you kill her and you kill all of her, because she keeps continuously coming back, you'll get a perk that she drops, and then you have to run through the maze. There's a big maze, and then once you get past it, there's Pack-a-Punch, there's stamina. I like just about everything on this map. You have Leroy and how involved he is, the Paralyzer, a really fun wonder weapon to use, the journey to Pack-a-Punch, the atmosphere and just where the map is, how unique and different. Everything on this map is all good. Coming in at number 4, we have Dreisendrach. You have the dogs on this map, where there's 3 of them, and you have to feed them zombies. Once you fill all 3 of them up with souls, you get the Wrath of the Ancients base bow. From there, the fun begins. You can actually start the upgrading process. There's 4 different bows you can get, similar to Ancient Evil's gauntlets and Origin staffs. DE has bows. You have Lightning, Void, Fire, and Wolf. Each one's building and upgrading process is a little separate from one another. The length of upgrading it and how difficult it is, I feel like, is pretty perfect. It's not too hard, and for the reward you get, it's definitely worth it. The bows are incredible, especially the lightning, which can get you to very high rounds. The map layout is done pretty well. It doesn't take you too long to get from anywhere on the map to the opposite side. You have Wonder Spheres all over, and you have the teleportation system again, which can teleport you to the rocket pad. It's got the first boss fight we've ever seen. You fight this giant gatekeeper, and there's basically 3 stages to it. He'll have a circle that opens up on his chest, and you have to shoot him as much as you can when it opens. You fight waves of panzers, you'll get a ton of skeletons, and you need the Ragnaroks to put in the middle to actually trap the gatekeeper. It's a really huge boss fight, it's challenging, and he even has an insta down attack, so it keeps you engaged all the time. The overall Easter egg before the boss fight is pretty solid. It's got a lot of good steps, and after you complete the boss fight, you go to a rocket launch and you shoot rockets at the moon and you blow it up. The location is awesome, being in the Austrian Alps in a castle specifically.
You got like a snowstorm going on. It kind of reminds me of Call of the Dead's weather. I like that a lot. The high rounds are also pretty fun. You have the lightning bow, which helps you get to a high round. It kills infinitely. And the Panzers came back from Origins, but I swear they're a lot harder to kill on high rounds. If you don't have a Haymaker or a Brecci, you're going to have a really hard time killing them, also in the boss fight. Coming down into our top 3, we have Shadows of Evil. It's the base map on Black Ops 3 Zombies and introduced to us a completely new crew with 4 brand new characters that we had never seen before. The setting of this map is really cool, set to be in Morgue City, which I believe to be in the 1940s and has been taken over by the Apothecans. The colors on the map look fantastic, and if you look up into the sky, it's bright red, looks all corrupted, and you see this huge Apothecan flying around. Speaking of Apothecans, the wonder weapon on the map, the Apothecan Servant, is the best we've ever had in Zombies. It has got very low ammo, but when you shoot it, it's this black hole, and all the zombies just get sucked up by it. You also have Lil Arnie's on the map, which is basically Shadows of Evil's twist on monkey bombs. It's a squid in a jar, and when you throw it out, it does infinite damage, can kill zombies forever, and it's actually upgradable. The Easter egg is pretty good. My only complaint with it is that you actually need 4 players to complete it, but most of it is just getting the Apothecan Sword and just upgrading it. The map layout is pretty good. Each one of the 4 characters in the crew has their own unique part of the map. You have the monorail to go from one area to the next, which you also need to pick up the symbols to get the Apothecan Sword. And you have portals to get to the main part of the map to where you can actually pack a punch. You also have Beast Mode, which you need to open up every part of the map. You also have the Marguas, which can be really hard to kill on later rounds unless you call in the Civil Protector, which can kill it right on impact. But on lower rounds, it's not as much of a challenge. It has 3 mouths that open up, and only one opens at a certain time. So you can't just shoot bullets at it, you have to be strategic about it. You also have the Parasite and Meatball rounds, which can drop a part for the Apothecan Servant. Shadows was the perfect start to Black Ops 3 Zombies. It got everyone interested in playing the game, and it was so different and unique than any other map. Coming down into our top 2, we have Mob of the Dead. I had a really hard time putting this here. Between number 1 and number 2, I couldn't decide which map would go where, but ultimately, Mob of the Dead's going to be number 2. Similarly to real life, with a bunch of Alcatraz inmates being mobsters, like Al Capone and Machine Gun Kelly, the crew on this map is also 4 mobsters, obviously fictional though. Sal DeLuca, The Weasel, Billy Handsome, and Finn O'Leary. This is the first time we had seen these 4 characters, and it only added to the map, making it more interesting. Right when you start up the game, you're put into Afterlife mode where you can either revive yourself or your teammates. It's similar to Beast Mode, but it's the original and a lot more useful. It serves the purpose of opening up the entire map. And on solo, you can constantly revive yourself. It's basically like a quick revive. The Blundergat is also the wonder weapon of the map. You can upgrade it and get the Sweeper or the Acid Gat. One does a lot more damage, and the other one shies zombies away from you. Do both and you get the Vitriolic Withering, which is perfect for if you're ever cornered by a bunch of zombies. All you need is the Zombie Shield, Juggernog, the Vitriolic Withering, and Electric Cherry, the new perk that Mob of the Dead also introduced. Getting to Pack-a-Punch on this map is a challenge, but it's a fun one. You basically need to get a bunch of plane parts, build it at the roof, and then go and fly it. And you actually end up flying it into the Golden Gate Bridge, which I like a lot, because it's a famous bridge, and I really enjoy how they used a lot of San Francisco's assets. The Easter egg is basically do this 3 times, and depending on whether the Weasel survives or gets killed, the cycle continues or breaks. You also have the Hell's Retriever, which you have to fill up the souls of the 3 dogs, and once you finish with that, you can get the base, and then you can upgrade the Hell's Retriever into the Hell's Redeemer, which does infinite damage and can kill zombies forever. Brutus is also on the map, which is perfect for later rounds because when he dies and you kill him, he leaves behind a drop, making it a lot easier on you. But on early rounds, he does lock things down like the mystery box, and you have to pay $2,000 to get it back. So he adds that perfect challenge, but also rewarding value to the map. I can't really come up with a flaw or anything wrong with this map. For people that consider it to be the best, I do understand. However, I do also disagree with you. With that being said, coming in at our number 1 spot, we have Origins. I'd say Origins is Zombies' icon. Every time I'm thinking of zombies, I'm thinking of Origins. It's the first chronological map in the Zombies timeline, and starts off with the premise crew. You have the 6 generators, which opens up the Pack-a-Punch and gives power to each of the locations on the map. You also have the 4 staffs, lightning, wind, fire, and ice. Each one has a different building and upgrading process, which only adds a lot more replayability to the map. You have the tunnels, which are designated to each one of the different staffs. You have G-strikes, which are necessary for the Easter egg, but are also unique to this map, and you have the Panzers, which were brought back on Mauer der Toten and Dreisendrach. You also have Agartha, or the Crazy Place, which you need to grab the crystal for the staff, upgrade the staff, and to also place the staff to complete the ending of the Easter egg. The Easter egg is definitely top 3 on this map. It's amazing, but most of it is just getting each one of the staffs and upgrading it, which can take a very long time on solo. But if you're playing co-op and you have teammates, it won't take as long. Each one of the staffs has a very different building process. For wind, you need to go into each one of the 3 robots' feet to grab the part. For ice, you need to dig when it's snowing outside 3 different times and find the parts then. For fire, you need to shoot the plane out of the sky, kill the Panzer, and get the reward out of the 6 generator box. And for lightning, you need to ride the tank and jump off 3 different times to go to a different part of the map that you normally wouldn't be able to go to. Each one of these also has a separate upgrading process. Once you're done building all the staffs and upgrading them, you just need to complete the 7 other steps, eventually freeing Samantha. It's a very storyline driven Easter egg, and I'm not a big storyline guy, but I still really enjoy it just because it's that good. The replayability on this map is through the roof. It's top 2, and it's not 2. You could put several hours into this map and you still wouldn't get tired of it. That's why it's the best map in all of Zombies. And that is going to wrap up the video. If you guys would consider dropping a like. It took a very, very long time to get the gameplay, the commentary, and editing all done. I mean, seriously took months. I've been wanting to do this video for a while. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Here's my tier list.